It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Wyoming Cowboys assistant women's basketball coach, Coach Brooke Atkinson. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching and collegiate basketball?
I grew up in kind of an athletic family. My dad was a baseball and football coach at a local high school, the high school that I went to. So that's kind of where, I have two older siblings, and my brother is like the middle. And so I kind of just followed and did what he did. And so as a kid, I was kind of always around sports. And obviously, my dad had friends that coached girls basketball or, other sports. And so I really just kind of grew up on the football field with my dad, like the baseball field. And I think that's where I just kind of got the love for sports and coaching.
What was it like going to Wichita State to play collegiate basketball?
I mean, I was very excited. Coach Daryl Smith, who I played for there, he had been a successful Division II head coach at Metro State, which is in Denver, where I grew up. So I knew of him when I was in high school, and we used to go to his camps. And then when I graduated high school, he got the Wichita State job. And so I was very familiar with him when he recruited me out of the junior college that I was at, Western Nebraska. And so I just knew the type of coach he was and the success he had. Um, and so I was excited to play for him.
What was that experience like first getting started on the junior college before you went to Wichita?
It was a great opportunity for me because I got to play a lot. I think sometimes when you go to a 4 year right away, and especially a Division I 4 year, you see a lot of freshmen that kind of have to sit and wait, and which is normal, and it's just part of the process. I was just I didn't play at a high school that was really known for basketball. I just went to the high school I was supposed to go to and where my dad coached at and taught at. And so it was a really good experience for me to play a lot of college basketball as a freshman and a sophomore and get that experience playing with other, talented kids or talented young women. And so I think just the experience to I played for, Dave Harnish, who was at Western Nebraska for 20 plus years and had a lot of success. And he's a really good coach. And I mean, it was a great move for me, athletically and academically.
During your time as a player for Wichita, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
I was a role player, so obviously just providing and playing my role. I have some of my best friends are my teammates, and even as a coach, I still talk with Coach Smith, and he's one of my biggest advocates. So I think a lot of it is just relationships and the people that you're around, and the ability to play at the Division I level or at the next level. And I think my 2 years at Wichita State really set me up to be a coach. And Coach Smith was really a big part of me getting, my first coaching job.
What was that experience like getting to put on that uniform for Wichita and represent them?
I mean, I was very proud to play at Wichita State, and um, I had to kind of take a different route in the sense junior college and then to Division I. So in junior college, you ride in vans and you eat at McDonald's, and then when you go to the Division I level, it's just there's a lot more money and a lot more resources. And so I was just really proud to obviously to have that experience and to get that opportunity.
Coming out of Wichita, what was that like getting started in coaching and going to Colorado State as assistant coach?
As an assistant, I first started at New Mexico State, and Coach Smith was, he was a big part of, me getting my first opportunity under Darren Spence, who he had been a junior college coach just south of Wichita at Cali County. And so because of, the coach that I played for and his connection, he had recruited kids from Coach Spence. Obviously it got me that opportunity, and I was just so excited. I knew that I wanted to coach. I wasn't sure at what level at first, but after playing, 2 years at Wichita State, I knew it was the collegiate level. So I was just excited to coach and to do what I love as a profession.
What were some of the things that you accomplished as assistant coach at New Mexico State?
We went to the WNIT, I think, for the first time. It'd been in 10 plus years. We made it to the championship game, I think, 3 different times. I think we took over a program where the coach had been removed in the middle of the year. So there was a lot of rebuilding. There was a lot of just, relationships needing to be mended. So for me, it was my first job, and it was really only, kind of what I knew, but it was just a great opportunity and an introduction into coaching, college basketball.
What was that experience like getting that taste to become a head coach at New Mexico State?
When I left New Mexico State as an assistant, I went and worked for Ryan Williams at the University of South Dakota for a year. And then I worked 2 years at the University of South Dakota for Amy Williams. And just leaving New Mexico State and going and working for 2 very successful head coaches in Ryan Williams and Amy Williams, it just gave me a different look at basketball, how many different ways you can, teach and coach basketball. And I think just working for those 2 coaches after I'd worked for Coach Spence was just a great opportunity. It just helped me form my philosophy, how I wanted to coach when I got my opportunity to be a head coach. So obviously, when I did get the opportunity, I was just super grateful because, as you know, in college coaching, you may not ever get that opportunity. So I was just really excited and grateful and nervous for the opportunity.
Of course, when you did get that opportunity, what were some of your biggest accomplishments as that head coach?
We won the conference 2 years, and we won the conference tournament and the conference 1 year. So obviously going to the NCAA tournament as a head coach obviously was a goal of mine. And so to get that opportunity, we graduated a lot of student athletes. We raised GPAs. Obviously, when you become a head coach, it's not just about the wins and losses. It's also about, getting kids to graduate and obviously seeing them as a freshman to a senior, getting them opportunities, whether that's to play after or just in the professional world and the business world.
What was your experience like going to Colorado State to become an assistant coach?
I had worked a year already for Ryan Williams, and so I was just excited. I'm from Denver, so the opportunity obviously to go back and coach in my home state, and to work for Coach Williams. He's a really good person, and he's a great coach, and he's been successful at every level that he's been at. And so I've just learned so much from him. And I think when I was a head coach, like I took a lot from what he taught me and how he ran his program.
What were some of the things that you took from your time as a head coach and your time as an assistant coach to help you get the Wyoming Cowboys assistant coaching job?
One of our assistants here, he's actually the associate head coach, Ryan Larson. He and I both worked for Ryan Williams at South Dakota. So he's one of my best friends in the business. And so he obviously got me this opportunity or the ability to talk with Heather. Heather Ezel, she just finished her first year as a head coach here. And for me, after being a head coach for 5 years at New Mexico State, coming here, it was a great opportunity to see, Heather as a head coach. She was in her first year, but how she basically approached being a head coach, how even she was, and how, she's just a really good coach. X's and O's, how she treats the girls. Just to see her, in action as a head coach, she seems like she's been doing it for 20 years, not 1 year. So for me, it was just a great opportunity to come and to be able to observe as an assistant and just have a different role. Because when you're a head coach, obviously you have to make a lot of hard decisions. You have to have a lot of hard conversations. So when you become an assistant again, it's fun. You get to have a kind of a different relationship with the student athletes. Like you can joke with them and have a different, you're not necessarily deciding their playing time, or having to have some of those hard conversations, but also, the University of Wyoming has been a very successful women's basketball program consistently over the past 20 plus years. And being able to be in a different system and learn basketball, again, the terminology, the lingo, the University of Wyoming, the Cowgirls, their emotion, like we are a motion based team. So coming in here, it's almost been a year, May 1st, learning motion and how they teach it. I mean, it was like I was a student. It was a lot of fun for me to learn basketball in a different way again.
What was that experience like? Obviously, as you said, taking your 5 seasons as a head coach over with you to Wyoming and helping the head coach as a head coach.
Heather didn't really need help in the sense, she's done such a good job. And, for me, I think one of the biggest things I took away from being a head coach is now being back as an assistant. You just have a completely different understanding for what the head coach has to deal with, what they have to, when you're an assistant, you can have, A, B, C, and D, and I need to get this done today, right? As a head coach, you can have your list of things that you need to get done, but there's so many things that pop up that aren't a part of your daily plan or your daily to-dos. And so I think just after being a head coach and now being an assistant, I just have a completely different understanding and respect for, all the things that are on the head coach's plate, the head coach's shoulders. And, our associate head, Ryan Larson, he's also been a head coach, and he's, one of the best coaches I've seen, and one of the, he's just really good at what he does. So one of the things that Heather did is obviously having him as her associate head coach, but she just has a lot of experienced coaches around her. And she also has 2 former players on her staff. So having the culture of, the University of Wyoming Cowgirls basketball, she was just really smart on how she made up her staff.
What does a typical game day look like for you as an assistant coach?
It doesn't really change in the sense like we all get in the office in the morning pretty early, and it doesn't really change. Our shoot around is at our practice time. So we're still able to, get a lot of work in the morning and the early afternoon, and then we'll do shoot around and pregame. And then we'll have like an hour or two in between. And then it's game day. We always watch film before we go down to shoot around. And then, following right after shoot around, we just walk up, to our pregame meal in our 7220 room. So once our young women come for film and shoot around, they don't have to leave. They just go straight to pregame. And so it's pretty simple. Obviously when you have evening games, it's a longer wait compared to day games, but it's a pretty relaxed day, a normal day. Not a lot changes.
What is that feeling like for you when you get to take that court and you get to help coach those Cowgirls?
This year has been a great experience to be a part of, the University of Wyoming women's basketball. They have such a culture and a history here, basketball wise on the women's side, that, it was just good for me. This whole year was a great learning experience for me. And the young women that are here, they're great students and they're really good people and really good athletes. So it was fun to just coach and be a part of it.
Can you talk about what a typical game day looks like for the players?
Not a lot changes for them as well. They will go to class in the mornings. We practice, our practice slot is 1 to 4. So our shoot around is usually around 1:30. So they might get a little more, obviously practice is a little bit longer than our shoot around is usually, 45 minutes. So I would assume they go to class and, come to shoot around pregame, and I could put money on it that they probably get in maybe an extra nap or so.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build for the Wyoming Cowgirls?
honestly, I didn't build any of this culture. It was already here. If you look at the history of coaches that have been here, Coach Legursky, Coach Mattinson, and now Coach Heather Izell, like they've done such a good job of continuing on this culture and just the history of motion and the cowboy motion that they've ran here. Um, I was just I'm very grateful to have been a part of it and to learn it because there's a lot of learning and a lot of reads and a lot of different things about it, but it's which makes it really hard to guard. It can kind of be monotonous at times, but they've just done a really good job of recruiting good kids, that kind of carry on that culture, and then just having that consistent, steady, um, culture, and that's kind of just been built up over the years.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
I mean, the Mountain West, it hasn't necessarily changed a lot, in the last, I think, probably 10 years, but it's pretty cool for us because obviously with Colorado State, just about an hour away. And that's it's one of our big rivals. We call it the border war. So we have Colorado State, Air Force, New Mexico, Utah State, Boise, UNLV, Nevada, Reno, San Jose, Fresno, San Diego State. I think that's all of them.
What is that? What is that home game atmosphere like when, let's say, Colorado comes to home versus going to Air Force?
Air Force, it's always a battle down there, and when you go down there and they have all the cadets, I mean, it's a good environment. It's a good environment for Air Force. It's a hostile environment for the opposing teams that come in, but obviously just the respect for the Air Force Academy and for what they do, is awesome. But in the sense when Colorado State comes here, we call it our border war, and we wear our One Wyoming jerseys, which is like the state flag of Wyoming. So we're not our typical brown and gold or brown and yellow. We wear it's kind of red, white, and blue, like a navy blue. So it's exciting because at the University of Wyoming, we draw really well. We have great attendance. Our Wyoming fans are, some of the best out there. But obviously, it's probably double the amount when Colorado State comes because of our rivalry and, because of the respect that we have for Colorado State and the respect that they have for us. Like, it's always just a great environment.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate basketball?
I think everybody's recruiting experience is different. If you take a look at our roster, half of our roster are international players, half of them are domestic or American kids. So we will really kind of recruit anywhere. We have currently, we have a Croatian student athlete, a Spanish student athlete, one from Poland, one from Denmark. I mean, we just continue to add, we also have an Australian. We went on a foreign tour last summer in Australia, so that was really cool. Obviously, to get to see where they are from and where they play and play against some Australian teams. But we really like, obviously, international student athletes, and then we recruit, regionally. We have student athletes from Kansas, Colorado, Utah, Washington, Wyoming. We have a couple Wyoming student athletes. So, we really obviously have had good luck, recruiting regionally, but we really anywhere will take, actually we have 3 Wyoming student athletes, but we just want the best players, best people, best student athletes.
Of course, for those prospective student athletes, what does that official visit look like for the Wyoming Cowboys?
We'll usually fly them in, whether it's into Denver, which is, about 100 miles away, or we can fly them into Laramie. A lot of times, we really like to fly them in on a football weekend, just because, tailgating and the football atmosphere is just really, it's a fun experience. Usually we'll fly them in, either a Thursday night or a Friday, and they'll kind of, they'll do all their meetings, with our academic people, our athletic academic people. It's a lot of meetings in the sense of what they want to study, and then our facilities always have a nice little photo shoot with them in Wyoming gear. And they really just kind of get to experience. They'll usually watch a workout, spend time with our staff, with our current student athletes, and they just kind of get to experience like a college weekend. This last fall, we brought 3 on the same visit, and 2 of them were already committed, and the third committed. So we've had success just bringing them in on those weekends with their families, and we tailgate as a team. So it's just a good, fun, college football Saturday, and a fall weekend is always a beautiful weekend, or beautiful weather here in Wyoming.
Of course, as a coach, what is it like getting to see those recruits put on that jersey for the first time and do the photo shoots, and then on their freshman year get to put it on for a real game day?
I think for us, it's just cool to see them put it on, and obviously with the pride, and it's good to see. And obviously, we have their families get in and get involved in those photo shoots. It takes a lot. It takes a village, obviously, to raise kids, and so when you see your kid, all the hard work has paid off in the sense of all the practices those parents have taken their kids to. All the games, all the traveling. I'm sure it's just, it's just awesome to see the parents being proud, and the students being excited. And then just, as a coach, you work hard to recruit the best and to get them here. And so when you get them here and they're actually playing and they're contributing, it's always an exciting moment as a coach.
Of course, what is that feeling like to see those freshmen put it on for the first time versus the seniors putting it on for the last time?
Excitement, and then it's like sadness. You're very happy, and it's exciting to see like all that they've accomplished, but then it's just sad because our 2 seniors this year, Tommy Olson and Quinn Weideman, they were 5th year. You talk about, we always say like cowgirl tough or Wyoming tough. Those 2 just represented that to the max, in the sense, because every day they came to work and they practiced hard and they did it right. And so just their toughness and what they've contributed and brought to the University of Wyoming. It's awesome to see, but it's also sad because they're now taking that next step and moving on to their professional careers. So it's exciting, and it's bittersweet.
As a coach, what is it like to see those players go on to go professionally, whether it's into their career path or go professional basketball route?
It's always a proud moment, just to see who they were as freshmen coming in to where they are, as whether it's a 4th year senior, a 5th year senior. They're kind of extensions. They're your family members. They're an extension of your family. So to see them grow, you're proud and you're happy for them, and you're excited to see what their future holds.
What is it like, obviously, seeing your players go on to the WNBA and living out their professional dreams?
I've had a couple players, get invites to like training camps, and they've made it through, a certain amount of cuts, but never have I had a player, play for a WNBA team. But I've had quite a few players play overseas professionally. I just think it's awesome to see that what they continue to, what they love, and they get to continue it. I think they also see, a different side of basketball once they get past, that college atmosphere, because it's just a little bit different when you go to play basketball professionally. It's a business. So it's like they see both sides of it, where, sometimes, in college, it's more of a family. You spend a lot more time together. When you move on, whether it's, you're working for an accounting firm or you're playing overseas, somewhere, it's it's a profession, it's a business. Like, you have to contribute, you have to obviously produce. So I think it's a little bit different. And just talking with former student athletes, it's awesome to see when they're continuing to play, for so long. Because it's not easy. I mean, when you're playing professionally, you're a very small percentage of people that do that.
What is that feeling like to see those players go on and go into the coaching world like you did and get a coaching job?
I think I say to them, like, are you ready for this craziness? But I say, if it's what you love, I mean, it's an awesome job. I just finished year 20, so I love it. It's, you get to coach basketball as a profession. So it's an awesome profession. It's definitely a hard one, just because of, you kind of have to go where the job is, but in the sense of, you're not going to really have a work environment like that, because just like when I played college, some of my teammates are my best friends. A lot of my coworkers or assistants that have worked for me, that, they're family and they're some of my favorite people. So it's just always so different than a 9 to 5. Like, you have the support from your coworkers, because it's just such a different environment. It's definitely a lifestyle. It's not just a job.
What are some of your future plans for the Wyoming program moving forward?
Just to continue to support, Coach Heather and these young women and this staff. Like, I've just been grateful to be a part of it, and obviously to learn, and just to continue to make this program continue to take steps, to get better and better. I mean, we had won 23 games this year, and are excited about next year. And so you just always want to continue to improve and do all that you can. I mean, there's not a lot of difference from being a player to a coach. Like, you just have to continue to work hard and do the right things.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to become college basketball players?
Worry about the things that you can control, your effort and your attitude, and just work at your craft. The right situation will find you. Be the best teammate you can be, be the best, obviously, student athlete you can be. I just think people get caught up on, they want the Division I offer or collegiate offer to play at the next level. If you work hard and you do the right things and you're a good teammate, the right situation will find you.
What advice would you give those freshmen that are entering their first year of collegiate basketball?
It's not about how many points you can score. Work on that defensive end, I think, is always one of the biggest, adjustments for freshmen coming in. Every system is different, but, just a lot of young players, they get their minutes, not necessarily, you don't want to mess it up on the offensive end, but it's the defensive end. Can your coach trust you? Can you just be solid? And so I think coming into a program, just obviously, just, you're going to have ups and downs. That's natural. Anytime anytime there's change, that's the only way you grow. It's hard. But going into a college program, like, use all those resources, because you're going to have so many more resources and people that want to help you at that next level. And just work hard, have fun, work hard, enjoy being a college student. But I just think when you take that next step and you go to the next level, you have the resources to be successful. Use them and just be open to learn. I know it's hard when you're coming out of high school because you're the best player on your team. Well, now you're starting over. You got all the best players around you, and just finding a way that you can contribute to the team. It might be cheering your teammates on. As a freshman, you may not play, it's accepting your role, I think, too, is one of the biggest things that you can do as a freshman. Because it's hard. It's not easy, going from being the big, the best player on your high school team to you've got, 14 other players around you that were, all Americans, all conference, all state champions. I think it's just being able to find your niche and how you can help make your team successful. And a lot of times they look a lot different. It could be 5 minutes playing. It could be just being the best teammate on the bench. So I think just being open to that, and there's just no role that's not important. 1 through 15 in college is so important. Being a good teammate, having a good attitude, and just that's why you play on a team. And so I think that's just being able to kind of just put that in perspective.
What advice would you give those college basketball players looking to go play in the WNBA, overseas, or Athletes Unlimited?
I think you want to go somewhere, obviously, in college that you can play and you can put up numbers and you can be successful. You don't always have to go to the highest level. I think in the WNBA, there's only a certain amount of spots. Unfortunately, it's a great league, but there's just not a lot of opportunities for everyone. And so I think you can, make a great career playing overseas or, Athletes Unlimited, and just know that your coaches that you played for in college, they're going to be your best resource. They're going to promote you or they won't promote you. Because if you're a great teammate, great player, great leader, they're definitely going to promote you and put their name out there for you. If it's a little, if maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe being a bad teammate or not being, being selfish, sometimes you might not get the best recommendation. So I think your current job, whether that's being a student athlete or a coach or whatever that is the most important job, because that's going to help you take that next step, whatever that is. Just again, being the best teammate, best student, best person, that's always going to set you up for success later.
What advice would you give those college basketball players looking to get into college coaching like you did after college?
Be ready to learn. It's a great opportunity. And just, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You're going to have to do just about everything, whether that's recruiting, whether that's laundry, whether that's, getting hotel rooms. I would just say, just like as a freshman, anytime you get to a new program, whether it's your first year or your 20th year, like, you just kind of have to sit back and learn and be open and observant on how you can just best help a program. You might have to do things, like wash clothes, but guess what? You get to coach basketball. You get to do what you love. I think sometimes when student athletes graduate, they think, oh yeah, I get to coach basketball. But really, college coaching, the percentage of basketball that you get to coach, it's a small percentage. A lot of it is other duties. And so it's almost like, in baseball, kind of when you're like a utility player, it's the same thing in basketball, the same thing in coaching. The more things that you can do and be good at, the better, because more people will want you, making relationships, recruiting, making relationships on campus. And just with people, I just think it's so important, because you just don't know what your job might look like, what it might be. It could be video, it could be a director of basketball, it could be a recruiting coordinator, it could be player development. So I think, as many hats that you can wear and as many things that you can do and be comfortable in doing, like, you'll be successful. Wanting to be a college coach, or it's time consuming, but if it's what you love, then it's a great job. It's a great career.
What advice would you give those future assistant coaches and even head coaches looking to get started?
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try. You're going to fail about 20 times in a day and, probably 1,000 times in a career. But they're all learning opportunities. You never get an opportunity that you don't try, that you don't just attempt for. So I think with basketball, there's so many highs. There's some really high highs and there's some really low lows. So as consistent as you can be, appreciate the day, appreciate maybe the successes you've had that day and the not successes of that day, and then just move on, because the next day you don't know what it holds in store for you. Just being able to be resilient and understand that just because a job doesn't work out or a loss, you'll get another opportunity to learn and to, obviously try it again.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Wyoming women's basketball program at?
I'm not very active on social media, so I couldn't even tell you my Twitter handle. So I apologize for that, because I'm not really active on that. Obviously, the University of Wyoming's, website. But yeah, that's the one thing definitely about being an assistant that I love, is you're just kind of behind the scenes. I'm not too big in social media, so I can't help you on that one.
Thank you again, Coach Brooke Atkinson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the Wyoming assistant women's basketball coach.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Brooke Atkinson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. You too.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.